Our guest today is Camille. Camille, let me let you give your full name. It's Mbayo, or give us your name.
Yes, my name is Camille Mbayo.
All right. And you are, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yes, so I am a Congolese, becoming American migrant. I am a technologist, and yeah, I want to be known as a Pan-African rebel. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But it's an interesting topic that we are going to talk about, and that has to do with Cuba and the
Yes.
medical brigade. And you have some information and so on. So I'd like you to give us a sense of it, because recently we heard Marco Rubio, one of President Trump's Secretary of State,
Mhm.
declared some comments about the medical brigade in Cuba.
Yeah.
And for us in the Caribbean, the medical brigade was somewhat like of a lifesaver. So
Mhm.
it's a bit of a challenge when to go through these kinds of derogatory statements and to clear it up.
Yeah.
So you having a sense of knowledge, give us a little bit of it.
Yes. No, like you said, the US is currently actively bullying and threatening sovereign nations to cancel their global health contracts with Cuba because, as you are aware, challenges the charges as alleged by the US is that the international brigades are trafficked as forced labor, and that is just not true. When Cuban doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals go on missions, they do so voluntarily. And while they're on missions, they maintain their normal salaries and they receive an additional compensation. So the narrative of the forced labor is simply incorrect, but the US is using that as a way to bully because as I'm sure you are aware of the Mallory documents that were released, and those outlined essentially that the US has always been anti the revolution that happened in Cuba, and the Mallory document essentially highlights that the only way that um they could reduce the support of the revolution was
Mhm.
by inducing economic crippling of the like reducing the resources and the economics so that the people would be frustrated with the outcomes because it was really growing popularly. And
Right.
that like started essentially like for over like since the 60s, a campaign to cripple Cuba economically. So that's with the blockade and like other things. And the most recent one is is a campaign against the medical brigade, which has done a lot for many countries.
Oh, yes, definitely for the Caribbean. Speaking for the Caribbean, Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados assured that without Cuba, the region couldn't have gone out, couldn't have overcome COVID-19.
Hmm.
So it tells a lot. And historically, we know the situation with Cuba and South Africa and so forth and what it has done. The interesting thing about it is give us a sense of how you see this situation transforming itself, you know, um, in terms of the medical brigade. I mean, how can people understand a bit more of the consequences of the medical brigade?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, Cuba, the medical brigade was a huge help during COVID-19. It also like went to Italy, actually. It was one of the first respondents in Italy for the medical during COVID. But like since it started, I think it has sent over 100,000 healthcare professionals to more than 70 different countries. I think that there was a study where it's like it has sent more than the Wait, Cuba provides more. Yeah, Cuba provides more medical health per personnel than all the G8 countries combined in the
Mhm.
Global South. And so, like during emergencies, like they really have. in Jamaica. Like I said, like they're in over 70 different countries, and they mu
Mhm.
provide much needed medical care. And they also like the partnership, the intercountry missions and partnerships bring over billions of dollars a year to Cuba and help the country cover the cost of its own free public health care system
Right.
and its renowned medical education for both Cubans and international students. Because, like, as you know, the medical is like not just sending doctors, but it's also allowing other stu international students to come and get trained for free.
Right, 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 right. Well, I understand they are working on the young people, the young Cubans. And
Hmm.
I would imagine that for the young Cuban, it's a bit challenging because you want to get a certain way. And especially when you get exposed to what's happening on the Western world,
Hmm.
it's a challenge, you know. Would you say that's accurate in a sense?
I think that from when I was in Cuba, we did learn some things about how Cuba is losing a lot of its younger generation, like you're saying, the youth, they are leaving and like seeking work elsewhere.
Right,
Um, and that's a problem that Cuba and like a lot of, and it is worse because of the bullying and the pressure that the US is putting on and the economic crippling with the blockade. And like, yet, despite all of that, Cuba is able to maintain their healthcare for free, like including for tourists. So it's
right,
like
right, right.
when we were there, and yes, so when we were there, one of our fellow comrades got sick and the ambulance came and picked her up from the hotel. It dropped her off at the hospital. She got the care she needed, the medical care that she needed, and the ambulance dropped her back at the hotel, and everything was free. So it's like
Hmm.
Cuba is doing this despite
All the
all
challenges.
the challenges. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Now, I observed there was a report. Well, of course, you know, Cuba and the OAS doesn't saddle the same horse.
Hmm.
Cuba was refused entry out of the OAS.
Hmm.
The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights discusses Cuba quite a bit. What
Hmm.
is the most recent situation they have allowed or they have engendered in their presentations?
Yes. So recently, the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights requested detailed information from its member states regarding their agreements with Cuba's medical brigade program,
Yeah.
which is a sign that they are, trying to believe they are going with the Trump's administration's um, allegations, or at least investigating them and treating them. And then worse still is that an anti-Cuban American activist, Rosa Maria Paya, was
Uh-huh.
voted into the OAS. And like as you know, the OAS is a soft branch, like what is the word? Soft power of the US, it's like it's still even though um it continues to push US foreign policies
Yeah.
as an independent but not really independent state. So they allowed anti-Cuban activist Rosa Maria um into the OAS despite concern from independent panels of her conflict of interest and lack of knowledge of human rights law. And that was post the Trump administration lobbying for her to be part of the Commission of Human Rights, despite not knowing international rights law. It's that inconsistency that
Right.
is
Right.
seen in the Trump administration often.
Well, do you believe that change will come? You know, we always say change will come eventually, you know, but do you believe in reality that Cuba will engage and will experience better times ahead?
Yes, I do believe. And like I think that this is part of what the our group is doing. We are the Carlotta's Warriors, and we are trying to engage Gen Z and younger folks into this conversation because I think that a lot of folks are disillusioned with what is happening globally in their country, and the campaign will target the Gen Z audience, Black and Brown, African diaspora and Caribbean American communities, and
Right.
progressive influencers. So we are trying to have a media campaign against the propaganda and the lies of the US government. So we aim to share resources, debunk misinformation, show how US policy is being used to fight the global South and the integrity of sovereign nations. Because, when the US starts threatening visas to countries, like that's them impeding, that's them stepping onto that's them disregarding the sovereignty of nations, right? And it's like
Hmm.
it doesn't end there. So we'll also in there share firsthand experiences and really connect the dots because like what's happening in Cuba is related to what's happening in Congo, for example. Like, all these like struggles are related. So we also want to bring it back to the personal, like on the ground, like how is what's happening in Cuba related to me here in Brooklyn?
Right, right,
And we're hoping that by engaging, like by having these different modes of engaging and engaging with a young audience who's already frustrated and who like, like we are the future. And also our group is intergenerational. So we are engaging with older folks, with young folks.
right.
And we then hope to create this awareness in the belly of the beast and like hopefully through that because Cuba is already doing what they need to do, it's like
Yes, yeah,
taking care of their people. So it's really about raising this awareness in the diaspora, but also in the belly of the beast.
yeah.
So
You
yeah, I
know,
believe in change.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but Cuba is a beautiful place, man.
Mhm.
I tell you, it's a beautiful, beautiful place,
Yes.
Um, so, I mean, as a young African living in this zone of what we are going through now,
Hmm.
how do you feel? How do you see, and you're seeing firsthand what's happening with Cuba, and
Hmm.
I'm sure you're conscious of other African countries.
Hmm.
How do you see all of this playing out?
Yeah. I really think that we're in this like global like test or something, initiation. And the way that I see it planning out is that the I think, yeah, like, it's like I'm aware of what's happening in Congo, for example. Like there's a
Right.
war and invasion, there are like deals being signed with the West. And then like in Burkina Faso, there's like, so like there is with Ibrahim Traoré a lot of like Pan-African great steps forward for ourselves where we're instead of looking externally for
Right.
resources, we're looking internally. And I
Right.
do think that like the support that he is getting globally like
Yeah.
does speak to the youth and the like what people want,
Yeah.
but it's like we really are continuing to because Cuba was a big player in a lot of the anti-colonial movements of the time,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
it's like I'm seeing this as just like a continuation of our independence from colonialism, and that means that the fight is long because it's been going on for a really long
Right.
time, but there's also like large breakthroughs. And I think
Right.
that if the large breakthroughs can happen in Burkina Faso, can happen in like small ways in Congo, and like, like can reestablish peace, then like we will move towards a more prosperous earth because we can't just keep on investing in destruction. It's like that's
Yes.
what we're currently doing as a people, and
Yes.
we need to start investing in like life and creating and respecting sovereign nations.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Right. Right.
yeah,
Right, right, yeah. Listen, Camille, it was a pleasure talking with you, and I hope we
thank
can
you
talk
so
another
much.
time.
Yes,
And
thank you so much.
you keep on keeping on. It's nice. I feel good seeing young people uh, being conscious of the struggle, and it continues. And so we're leaving it in good hands.
Thank you. We hope to to pass the mantle as well with more than we received.
All right. I've been speaking with Camille Mbayo, and she's a Congolese young lady living in the United States. And we've been chatting a bit about the struggle that our countries face, Cuba and even Africa. And so we hope one day to overcome all these challenges. This is Von Martin. Caribbeana continues.